Narmaya is definitely one of the most fun and powerful characters in Granblue Fantasy Relink, so in this video we're going to be explaining how to truly master her combat and all of her mechanics. Starting off with the basic mechanics, the way Narmaya works is that she has two separate stances. The first one is going to be the free flutter stance, which we're going to be calling the blue stance because of the blue butterflies, obviously. And this blue stance consists of rapid, continuous attacks. And then she also has the dawnfly stance, which is the red stance, which many people neglect when they first start using Narmaya. And the red stance, instead of fast attacks, has a slow, charged radius attack. Most people default into just using the blue stance for the rapid attacks when using Narmaya when they're first starting out. However, that is a huge mistake. Narmaya's true power comes from transitioning smoothly from one stance to the other continuously throughout the battle. And the reason for this is because Narmaya's main objective in the fight is to build up butterflies. The more butterflies she has surrounding her, the more powerful the next skill is going to be. The basic way to build up butterflies in the blue stance is simply reaching the end of the square combo. This means basic attacking until you do the final down slash. That is when you're going to get a butterfly. For the red dawnfly stance, to get a butterfly, you need to get a fully charged radius attack. This means holding down the square button until the radius goes all the way pink, that's past the red, and then once you release it, you'll get the butterfly. I know what you're thinking, the red stance seems extremely slow and not very useful, but don't worry, we're going to get into that in just a second. To make things a little bit easier while I explain this, you can go down here into the command list, and on this command list you can see the little up arrows. Now all the places where these little up arrows are on the command list, this means that you get a butterfly for doing this exact command. So the ones we're going to be talking about here are the stance shifts. We're going to be calling these perfect transitions. What this essentially means is at the end of the combo, whether it's with the blue stance or the red stance for the charged attack, if you change stance right at the end in the perfect time, you will get a perfect transition. Now the perfect transition grants you an extra free butterfly each time, as well as doing an extra bonus attack while transitioning, which is definitely going to be really useful. So to put this into practice, as you can see here, we're spamming away the attack button in the blue stance until you get this final down slash attack. That's going to be the end of the combo. Now, as soon as this down slash attack happens, you want to press the triangle button to change into the red stance. If you do this correctly, you should notice you get two butterflies instead of one, as well as doing the extra sort of red attacks here as you transition. Another amazing thing about the perfect transition from the blue stance into the red stance is that if you did get this correctly, you notice that the fully charged red stance attack is almost immediate instead of taking a long time. As for the perfect transition from the red stance into the blue stance, it's actually very easy. All you need to do is get a fully charged attack. This means, remember, past the red all the way into the pink when it won't go any further. Then immediately after your attack, while she's putting the sword back away in the sheath, that's when you're going to press the triangle to change back into the blue stance and get another perfect transition. Other than granting yet another extra butterfly, it's going to be distinguishable by this extra blue attack she does, where she slams the ground and does a wave attack that will continuously keep on hitting the enemy in the background. Mastering these perfect transitions from one stance into the other is the true power of Narmaya, as you can continuously do this over and over again until you get all your butterflies, then use your most powerful skill and then just rinse and repeat. Also, very important side note, don't be afraid to interrupt your own combo when a link attack opportunity comes up, as you can also perfectly transition from the link attack into any of the stances. So before we can show you guys the ultimate combo for Narmaya, we need to understand what skills we're using and why. The first and most important skill is the Dance of Pink Petals. This is going to boost Narmaya's attack, give a stout heart, which essentially gives her more poise, making it harder to interrupt her attacks, as well as supplementary damage, which is always nice, but also it's going to give her 3 free butterflies every time you use it. So this is, in my opinion, a must for Narmaya. The second part of this combo we're going to be using is the Utter Devotion skill. Now what Utter Devotion does is it's going to lower the enemy defenses. All of the enemies around you are going to get their defense lowered when you use this skill. This is also going to taunt the enemies to make them more likely to target you, so definitely make sure you're aware of that. This skill is also going to add 3 extra free butterflies every time you use it. This is great for building up the butterflies, as every time we use one of the other skills, the butterflies are going to get consumed. The third part of our combo is going to be the Transient skill. This is going to be the one that actually deals the damage. This skill actually changes what it does based on whether you're in the blue stance or the red stance. If you're in the blue stance, it'll do these slow smash attacks into the ground. However, if you're in the red stance, which is where I definitely recommend using the Transient skill, it does these many sort of spin attacks and gets a bunch of hits in. So if you're going for a crit build, this is definitely the one you want to be using. And it does more hits based on the amount of butterflies you have built up. The fourth skill, you can really go with whatever you want. I go for Crescent Moon simply because it gives us some sort of ranged attack. In case there's some annoying flying enemies or some enemy I just can't catch up to, you can use the Crescent Moon to sort of send out a wave attack into the distance, which is pretty useful sometimes. But honestly, Crescent Moon, you can sort of substitute for pretty much any other damage skill you want to use for her. Now let's get into the most interesting part, which is Narmaya's ultimate combo. To start the combo, use Dance of the Pink Petals to boost your attack, as well as making it harder for them to interrupt your follow-up part of the combo. By using Dance of the Pink Petals first, you'll also get 3 extra butterflies as soon as you start. Then immediately after that, use Utter Devotion, which will lower the enemy defenses and give you an extra 3 butterflies. So with just these 2 moves, you should immediately have 6 butterflies, increased attack, lower enemy defenses, as well as making it harder for them to interrupt your attacks. And this is where you want to get right up close and personal. Make sure you're in the Dawnfly, the red stance, and then use the Transient skill. This is going to get a bunch of hits off, and with all the buffs and debuffs we've got going on, this is going to do insane damage. Most likely, even solo, you should be sending the enemy into the Link attack opportunity. So then immediately use the Link attack, and as soon as that Link attack hits the ground, you want to change stance and get the perfect transition into the blue stance. And at the end of that combo, switch stance back into the red stance, and you should get the perfect transition. And then just continuously rotate from one stance, perfectly transition into the other, until you get some of your skills back. And honestly, Dance of the Pink Petals does have a fairly long cooldown, so this is more of an opening move, and use it maybe 2 or 3 times in the fight. But really, your next objective is going to be just to build up your butterflies through perfect transitions, and then as soon as Transient is out of cooldown, go ahead and use that again and rinse and repeat. And finally, let's talk a little bit about what weapon to use and which sigils. First of all, the weapon is the Floritium Blade, which is her second weapon, the blue one. And the reason for this is that her passive with this increases her crit rate, which is going to be pretty much the full thing behind this build. Then in the sigils, as you can see, the first thing we need to focus is full crit rate and crit damage. You definitely want to focus more on crit rate percent instead of crit damage. The reason for this is that the damage cap is always fairly low in this game until you start to boost it up. So you're going to be hitting that max damage sort of cap pretty early on, so you don't want to go too overboard with the crit damage. I like to be at 90% crit rate, especially for late game. Honestly, it doesn't even use up that many sigils. As you can see, I only have 2 crit rate sigils on. They are quite high level ones, but I do have a bunch of crit rate coming from other stuff like the masteries and the weapon. Personally, I do have 2 fairly powerful crit damage sigils on as well, but the reason for this is that I do have a decent amount of stats put into the damage cap to increase the maximum damage you can actually do, just through sigils, mastery bonuses, and the sort of crystals you can put onto your weapon. Also, we do have 1 attack power sigil equipped. Then down here we have the 2 legendaries, the Butterfly Valor and the Butterfly Grace. One makes it so that every time we get a butterfly, we get an extra butterfly, and the other one makes it so that we have a 50% chance of no butterflies getting consumed when we use skills. Both of these can be purchased from the shop once you get into post-game, I believe it is. I'm not sure exactly when they become unlocked. Then we have Krabby Resonance that actually makes you more powerful based on how many of those wee pincers the crabs you have found throughout the story. So if you found all 45 of them and you put the sigil on, you get an extra 1,000 attack. We have a full video guide on where all 45 pincers are down in the description if you want to check that out. Also for the last slot, I've been using this improved dodge, which is really cool. What this does, other than giving you a few more iframes, is that usually when you dodge 3 times, you sort of get staggered for a little bit and you can't move, but this increases that to 4 dodges before that happens. So that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. I hope you have fun playing Narmaya. I hope you did find this video helpful. If you did, don't forget that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content coming very soon, and we'll see you next time.